Byron Donaldson's claim that blacks were better off during the Jim Crow era was not just insensitive, it's a dangerous distortion of a painful chapter in American history. To say such a thing is to minimize the suffering of millions. We cannot and must not allow such dangerous narratives to take root. The truth of Jim Crow is etched in the memories of those who lived it. From the late 19th century to the mid-20th century, Jim Crow laws held Black Americans in a suffocating grip, denying them basic rights and freedoms. These laws, enacted across the southern and some northern states, mandated segregation in all aspects of life, from schools and parks to buses and restaurants. Separate but equal, the mantra of the Jim Crow South was a cruel joke, a thin veil for the pervasive inequity that defined the era. Black schools were chronically underfunded, their textbooks often hand-me-downs from white schools. Hospitals designated for Black patients were often understaffed and ill-equipped. Black Americans were relegated to the margins of society, denied access to economic opportunities, and subjected to constant humiliation and degradation. The right to vote, supposedly guaranteed by the 15th Amendment, was effectively nullified through poll taxes, literacy tests, and outright intimidation. The civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s, fueled by courage and sacrifice, brought significant legal victories. Dismantling Jim Crow laws marked a turning point. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and Voting Rights Act of 1965 outlawed discrimination. Yet, the work remains unfinished. Systemic racism persists in healthcare, education, and mass incarceration. The fight for racial justice demands our continued vigilance. The unfinished march. The echoes of Jim Crow reverberate in the stark racial disparities that continue to plague our nation. The wealth gap between Black and white Americans remains a gaping wound, a testament to centuries of systemic disenfranchisement. Black Americans are disproportionately represented in prisons and jails, often ensnared in a criminal justice system that seems to criminalize poverty and race rather than address the root causes of crime. And while overt acts of racism may be less common today, implicit bias continues to shape everything from hiring practices to interactions with law enforcement. The struggle for racial justice is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires a sustained effort, a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, and a commitment to dismantling the systems that perpetuate inequality. We cannot afford to rest on the laurels of past victories. We must continue to push forward, to demand accountability, and to work tirelessly towards a future where every individual has an equal opportunity to thrive. Challenging the narrative. Byron Donaldson's dismissive remarks about Jim Crow are not just inaccurate, they are dangerous and deeply offensive. His words serve only to perpetuate ignorance and to undermine the very real progress that has been made in the fight for racial justice. We must challenge such harmful rhetoric whenever and wherever we encounter it. We must speak out against injustice and inequality. We must never forget the lessons of the past, and we must never stop fighting for a better future. The fight for racial justice is a fight for the soul of our nation. It is a fight that demands our unwavering commitment, our unwavering courage, and our unwavering belief in the possibility of a more just and equitable world. Let us honor the legacy of those who came before us by continuing their fight with the same passion, determination, and unwavering belief in the power of justice to prevail.